If sine of theta is equal to -4/5 and theta is in quadrant 3, then what is sine of theta over 2? So in other words, we're using half angle formulas, and we need to know the half angle formula for sine of theta over 2. And the formula is plus or minus the square root of 1 minus cosine of theta over 2. So notice the question itself gave us sine of theta, and the formula here requires cosine of theta. So we need to figure out what cosine of theta is. Let's go ahead and draw our triangle in quadrant 3. So since we have sine of theta is equal to -4/5, we know our opposite side's -4. Our hypotenuse is 5, and we need to find our missing side, x. So using the Pythagorean theorem, we know x is equal to plus or minus the square root 5 squared minus 4 squared, which is equal to plus or minus the square root of 25 minus 16, which is equal to plus or minus the square root of 9, or plus or minus 3. But since we're going in the negative x direction in quadrant 3, we know we want the negative version. So x is equal to -3. So now that we know that cosine of theta is equal to -3/5, we can then plug this thing here into this formula for cosine of theta. And when we do that, we get sine of theta over 2 is equal to plus or minus square root and minus -3/5 over 2. Then simplifying that, we get square root of 4/5. Simplifying this even further, we can take the square root of the top part, which is 2. So we end up with 2 over square root of 5. Then we need to rationalize this by multiplying by the square root of 5 over square root of 5. And our final answer will be 2 square root of 5 over 5. Okay, so there's one last thing we need to do is we don't know whether we're using the plus version or the negative version. And to figure that out, we know in quadrant 3, our angle is 180 degrees. Or 270 degrees. So our angle in quadrant 3 is somewhere between here. So if we want to know what that angle divided by 2 would be, we can just divide everything by 2. And that'll give us that our new angle, theta over 2, is between 90 degrees and 135 degrees. And 90 degrees and 135 degrees puts us up here in quadrant 2. So now that we know that our angle sine of theta over 2 is in quadrant 2 somewhere, and that we know that sine is positive in quadrant 2, we know to take the positive version. So our end answer is 2 square root of 5 over 5. And this is our final answer.